I know what you're thinking, it's impossible. Dead people don't send texts. I used to believe that too. I used to believe a lot of things before last month. Now, I'm not so sure about anything. I haven't told anyone the full story yet. Partly because I don't want to see the look on their faces when they realize I'm serious. But I need to get it out. Because keeping it inside feels like it's eating me alive. I guess it started 7 months ago. The night Emily died. She was my best friend since high school, the type of friend you can't imagine living without. We knew everything about each other. Our secrets. Our fears. Even the stupid stuff. Like which brand of cereal we each hated. We were closer than sisters. That night it was raining. I'd just gone through a bad breakup. The kind that makes you feel hollow. Emily, being Emily, insisted on coming over. I told her not to. The weather was bad. Her apartment was across town. But she wouldn't listen. Best friends don't let each other sit alone in the dark. She said. She showed up with cheap wine. Bad jokes. And that smile that made everything feel okay for a while. But she left late, too late. I told her to crash on my couch. She laughed it off, saying she had an early meeting. That was the last time I saw her alive. The call came at 2:34 a.m. A stranger's voice. Shaky. Telling me there'd been an accident. Her car had skidded on the wet road. Spun out. And hit a tree. She died instantly. They said she didn't feel anything. I went to her funeral in a fog. I remember touching her hand in the casket. It was cold. That's how I know she's really gone. Or at least, she was. For months, I barely functioned. My apartment was silent except for the occasional hum of the fridge or the groan of the pipes. Nights were the worst. I'd lie in bed replaying every detail of that evening. Wishing I'd begged her to stay. It was around the 6-month mark when I finally started to feel like I could breathe again. Then, a week ago, my phone buzzed at 3:11 a.m. I was half asleep and thought it was a spam text. But when I looked, my heart stopped. It was from Emily's number. The contact name lit up exactly as it always had. Em read, with her smiling photo beside it. The message was short. Just 3 words. Can you talk? My first thought was that it was some cruel joke. Someone must have gotten her old phone. But when I opened the chats, all our old conversations was still there. The last one from her side was dated the night she died. My hands were shaking as I typed back. Who is this? No reply. I stayed up until dawn staring at my phone. The next night, it happened again. 2:57 a.m. This time, the message said, "Miss you." I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just sat there. My skin prickling. My heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I turned the phone off and buried it under my pillow. But when I woke up, the phone was on. The screen lit. And another message was waiting. Remember the cabins? That made me feel sick. The cabin was our spot, an old rental by the lake we'd escaped to when life got too much. No one else knew about it. Not my family. Not my ex. No one's. I didn't tell anyone about the texts. How could I? Hey, my dead best friend is messaging me. Isn't exactly something people nod along to. On the third night, the message was different. This time, there was no text, just a photo. My apartment. My couch. Me. Sitting there in my pajamas. Staring at my phone. The photo was taken from inside the room. Maybe 10 feet away. But I live alone. The shadows in the picture were all wrong. They stretched across the walls like there was a light source behind the photographer, but the only lamp in that room is in the corner. And it doesn't cast shadows like that. My chest went tight. My stomach flipped. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I grabbed my phone and called the number. It rang once. Then I heard it. Her laugh. Soft at first, then growing louder. Exactly the way Emily used to laugh when we stayed up too late watching bad horror movies. It was her. I swear on my life. It was her. I hung up and threw the phone across the room. It landed face down on the carpet. I sat there for hours, knees pulled to my chest, staring at it like it might move. Around 6 a.m., I finally picked it up. The battery was at 73%, even though I hadn't charged it all night. Another message had come in at 4:02 a.m. One sentence. I can see you. I didn't sleep after that. I just sat by the window, waiting for the sun to come up. Every little creak in the building making me flinch. The next 2 days I did everything I could to convince myself there was a rational explanation. Maybe someone had cloned her number. Maybe the photo was doctored. I avoided my phone as much as possible, leaving it face down on the kitchen counter and turning the ringer off. Still, I couldn't shake the crawling sensation between my shoulder blades. Like I was being watched. Every time I walked past a window, I caught myself glancing out into the street, scanning for a shadow or a parked car. By the third night, I was so on edge that I jumped when the fridge kicked on. I decided to take a hot shower to calm down. I left my phone in the living room. Screen down. Volume muted. I must have been in there 15 minutes. The steam had fogged up the mirror. The hot water pounding against my skin, almost making me feel normal again. But when I stepped out and reached for my towel, I froze. On the mirrors, just above where my face would be reflected, was a sentence drawn in the condensation. I miss you. I stood there dripping, my towel hanging uselessly in my hand, staring at the words. The bathroom door had been locked. I knew it had I checked twice before stepping into the shower. My apartment is small. If anyone had come in, I would have heard it. My heart was in my throat as I wiped the glass with my palm. The words smeared but didn't vanish right away, almost as if they'd been there for longer than the steam. I didn't sleep that night. I sat up on the couch with every light in the apartment on, my phone in my lap, the TV playing some mindless infomercial in the background just to fill the silence. At 3:15 a.m., the phone vibrated. Against my better judgments, I looked. A new text from Emily's number. Come outside. I held my breath and glanced toward the window. The street was mostly empty, dimly lit by the flickering streetlight at the corner. And then I saw it. Parked directly across from my building was a silver Honda Civic Emily's car. The dent in the rear passenger door was still there. The side mirror still had the same hairline crack it had the night of the accident. My chest tightened. The police had told me her car had been totaled and sent to a junkyard. ID never asked where. I didn't want to know. Another buzz. Hurry. I told myself I wasn't going anywhere near that car. I pulled the curtains closed, turned the deadbolt on the door, and sat back down. My phone buzzed again almost immediately. This time, it was a photo. Not of me, of my front door. Taken from the hallway. The timestamp said 3:16 a. Them. I felt a cold rush sweep over my skin. Whoever or whatever was doing this wasn't just outside. They were here. I gripped the phone, my thumb hovering over the call button for 911. But then something stopped me. The smell. It was faint at first. Just a whiff of wet pavement and something metallic. Like rust. But it grew stronger in seconds, filling the apartment until I was gagging on it. And underneath it all, another scent I knew too well, Emily's perfume. Cheap vanilla. The kind you can buy at any drugstore. But distinct. ID hugged her 1,000 times with that scent on her hoodie. It hit me so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I bolted for the kitchen and grabbed the biggest knife I own. My hands were slick with sweat. Every shadow looked like it was moving. My phone vibrated again in my pocket. One more message. Don't be scared. It's still me. My knees felt weak. My brain screamed at me to call the cops. Call someone. But my body was rooted to the spot. Then came the sound, 3 slow knocks on my front door. Not loud. Not hurried. Just deliberate. Like whoever was on the other side knew I was listening. I inched toward the door, the knife trembling in my grip. My peephole is broken, so I had to rely on the thin slice of light that came through the gap under the door. I crouched down and saw 2 shadows on the floorboards. One was still. The other shifted, like it was swaying side to side. And then, clear as day, I heard her voice. It's cold out here. Let me in. I backed away from the door so fast I nearly tripped over the coffee table. My mind was scrambling for any rational explanation. Maybe someone was doing an elaborate prank. Maybe they'd studied her voice recordings. Maybe my grief had finally cracked something in me. But the way she said it, the softness, the little upward lilt on the last word that was Emily. I would have bet my life on it. I tried to steady my breathing, clutching the knife so hard my fingers ached. The knocking came again. This time softer, almost playful. Then silence. I stayed frozen for what felt like forever, my ears straining for any sound. And then my phone vibrated again. A new message. I'm inside. The air in my apartment changed instantly. It wasn't just a feeling, it was like the temperature dropped 10 degrees in seconds. The hairs on my arms stood on end. I could see my breath. The street noise outside seemed to vanish, replaced by an unnatural stillness. I moved toward the kitchen, thinking I could make a run for the fire escape. But as soon as I stepped into the hallway, I saw it, a wet footprint. There. Humans. Small enough to be hers. The water glistened in the light as if it had been left seconds ago. Another footprint appeared a few feet ahead, and another after that, leading toward the living room. Every instinct told me to get out. I turned to grab my keys from the counter, but my phone buzzed in my hand before I could. This time, it wasn't a text. It was a video. I pressed play without thinking. The screen showed me standing exactly where I was right now from a few feet behind. Like someone was filming me at that exact moment. My stomach flipped, and I spun around. No one was there. The phone buzzed again. Don't turn around so fast. Y'all scare me. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the knife. The wet footprints had vanished. The floor was dry, as if they'd never been there. But that scent of perfume was stronger now. So strong I could almost taste it. I took a step toward the living room, my breath coming out in short, sharp bursts. That's when I heard it, the faint sound of humming. Emily used to hum when she was concentrating, usually when she was painting her nails or braiding her hair. I followed the sound, my body tense, every nerve screaming. The humming was coming from the couch. I rounded the corner slowly. Knife raised and froze. My phone was lying on the coffee table. Screen facing up. Camera app opens. And in the reflection on the screen, I saw her, sitting on the couch, smiling at me. I spun around, and the couch was empty. My phone buzzed again. You're getting scared too easily. I just want to see you. I stumbled back toward the door, but something stopped me cold. The chain lock the one ID slid into place earlier was dangling loose, swinging slightly as if it had just been undone. Before I could process that, there was movement in my peripheral vision, a shadow darting across the hallway. I heard the soft pad of bare feet on the floor, the faint creak of the bathroom door swinging open. I gripped the knife tighter and edged toward the doorway, my pulse thundering in my ears. The bathroom light was off, but I could see her outline in the mirror's reflection standing perfectly still. Her head tilted just a little too far to one side. My own reflection was there too, trembling, knife in hand. But when I turned my head toward where she should have been standing, there was nothing. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't stop myself. This time, the message said, "Stop looking for me. Y'all see me soon enough." I stood there in the dark hallway, my breathing ragged. The silence so heavy it felt like the air itself was pressing down on me. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Somewhere deep inside, I think I already knew running wouldn't matter. She was here, and she'd already decided I wasn't going anywhere. The apartment suddenly felt smaller, like the walls had shifted closer. My ears caught it again, that humming. Softer now, almost like it was right behind me. My grip on the knife tightened, my knuckles white. I turned, slow as I could, but there was only empty space. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out with trembling hands. Another text. Turn around. My throat went dry. Every cell in my body screamed don't. But my head moved anyways, like I wasn't in control anymore. She was there. Emily stood barely a foot away, her hair wet and clinging to her face, droplets of water running down onto the floor. Her skin was pale, almost gray, her lips a faint purple. The left side of her face was bruised and swollen. Her temple split open the way it must have looked after the crash. But her eyes, they were exactly the same as I remembered. Warm, familiar, heartbreaking. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe. She tilted her head, the same way she always did when she was teasing me, and whispered, "I told you I missed you." The knife slipped from my hand and clattered to the floor. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the mix of rain and vanilla perfume radiating from her. Her cold fingers brushed against my cheek. And for a moment, a part of me almost believed she was really back. But then her smile widened too wide, stretching her lips in a way that wasn't human. Her voice dropped to a whisper that didn't sound like hers anymore. "It's time." The room went black. Not just dark black. Like the light had been sucked out of the world. My phone fell from my hand, hitting the floor with a dull thud. The last thing I saw before it hit was the screen lighting up with one final message. "You're coming with me." I woke up on the floor hours later, the sun bleeding weak light through the blinds. My phone was gone. The knife was gone. Everything felt wrong, like the air was heavier somehow. I stumbled to my feet, trying to shake the pounding in my head. Then I saw it on the inside of my front door, written in a dripping, rusty red, "See you soon." I haven't left my apartment since. My new phone has a different number, but every night at exactly 3:15 a.m., it buzzes. No matter how many times I block the number, no matter how many times I change my SIM card, the messages come. Always the same three words: "Come outside."